you connected. Xfinity. Imagine that. Restrictions apply.
Being in your bag isn't just for players on the court. With DoorDash, all of Dub Nation has a bag too. Scrolling late night highlights? Have snacks on hand. Hosting a watch party? Get drinks, ice, and cups before tip-off. Low battery during tunnel walks? There's a charger delivered to where you are. DoorDash keeps your bag deep so you can keep up with the speed of the game. DoorDash, official partner of the Golden State Warriors.
Make pet care stress-free with PetMeds, the leading online destination for your pet's health and wellness needs. From healthy, nutrient-packed foods and treats to top-branded flea and tick solutions like Simparica Trio, PetMeds has everything you will need to keep your pets healthy and happy, from puppy or kittens to senior stage. Don't miss Dr. Cuddle's Ready Rescue, a must-have detoxifier for emergencies. Visit petmeds.com and use promo code WARRIORS for 25% off site-wide. PetMeds, care you trust to keep pets happy and healthy throughout their lives.
This next one's for all you CarMax shoppers who just want to buy a car your way.
Want to check some cars out in person? Want to look some more from your house? Okay.
Want to pretend you know about engines?
Nah, I'll just chat with CarMax online instead.
Want to get pre-qualified from your couch? Woo! Want to get that car?
ASAP!
You want to do it your way.
Want to drive? CarMax.
Dub Nation, NBC Sports Bay Area is your home for complete Warriors coverage. Catch Steph and the squad all season long as Bob Fitzgerald and Kalina Azubuike call all the action. Tune in to Warriors pre- and post-game live, hosted by me, Bonte Hill, alongside NBA champ Festus Ezeli and Hall of Famer Chris Mullen, 1 hour before and immediately after every single game. Plus nonstop Warriors content with the NBC Sports Bay Area app. Authentic moments live here on NBC Sports Bay Area.
Welcome back to the Warriors postgame show.
Jackson Jr. cut off, knocked away by Butler. Butler's got the steal. He accelerates by Bane to the rim and dunks it. A two-hand slam.
On the Warriors Radio Network.
Coming off the emotional home opening overtime, short turnaround for the team as they flew up to Portland and up the coast and lose by 20 on a night when the Blazers were fired up after the arrest of their coach, Chauncey Billups. Starters, Stephen Curry, 35 points and 2 blocked shots. Jonathan Kuminga, 16 points and 8 boards. Played just 24 minutes. Draymond Green had 12 points. Quentin Post got the start, just 16 minutes with 5 points and 4 rebounds. Jimmy Butler had 14 points on the night. Tonight the Dubs had 4 dunks, so $10,000 will be donated by Rakuten to the Warriors Community Foundation. It's all part of the Dunks for Donations program presented by Rakuten. So thank you, Rakuten, and go Warriors. Off the bench, Brandon Bajemski had a team worst -17 tonight. Moses Moody made his season debut, had 7 points. Will Richard, the rookie, had 7 points and 2 steals. 25 turnovers as a team. Way too much there for Steve Kerr. Warriors did win the battle of the boards by 3. Tonight, the Dubs had 33 free throws made, so $16,500 will be donated to the Warriors Community Foundation, benefiting education-focused nonprofits in the Bay Area. It's all part of the Free Throws for Futures program, powered by the PG&E Corporation. Visit Warriors.com/free throws to learn more. The NBC Sports Authentic moment of the game was, again, Steph Curry, who was simply special.
Curry brings it to the timeline, slows it down, passes to Draymond, back to Curry, drives, throws up a shot, it's good! He threw up a circus shot because he knew he got fouled and just floated it up there on the go from the right side to make sure he got to the free throw line, and of course it went in. He's Stephen Curry. Stuff happens when he's on the floor, stuff you can't believe, and there's just another example right there. That's why he is so special.
Warriors fall to 2-1 on the Young campaign. Evan Giddings up next with Warriors Wrap-Up. Get in now and talk about this loss. You can catch him out on YouTube on 95.7 The Game, the Golden State Warriors Radio Network.
What's up, Dub Nation? Do you want to get cash back on Warriors gear? All you have to do is sign up at Rakuten.com/Warriors, where you can earn 10% cash back in store and online at Warriors Shop. Once you're a member, shop your favorite stores like Fanatics and Ticketmaster and watch the cash back add up in your account. Rakuten is the most rewarding way for you to shop and maximize your savings. Join Rakuten for free today at Rakuten.com/Warriors or download the Rakuten app. That's RAKUTEN.
Say you're a coach in Chase Center and need to draw up a last-second play. Or you're a fan in Section 212 craving nachos. AI from Google Cloud can help with both. The Warriors are using AI from Google Cloud to break down every move on the court, helping coaches game plan. And for fans, the same AI powers the mobile app, giving you personalized content, highlights, and yes, nachos, ordered from your phone. With AI, you're always in the game, even off the court. Google Cloud, the official AI partner of the Golden State Warriors.
15 years ago, PG&E launched Power Pathway, an education and job training program developed to increase the number of skilled workers in the energy industry. Since then, 85% of the graduates have been hired by PG&E or the construction utility industry. Focusing on students in underserved communities, women, and military veterans, Power Pathway is helping the next generation of PG&E energy professionals build a better future for themselves and a clean energy future for California. To learn more, visit pge.com/powerpathway.
Your ambition just met its match with Robinhood. Trade stocks and ETFs, options, futures, and crypto all on one platform. Get started today at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. Your money, your move. All investments involve risk, including loss of principal. Options, futures, and crypto trading carry significant risk and may not suit all investors. Securities offered through Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC. Futures trading is offered by Robinhood Derivatives LLC, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Crypto offered through Robinhood Crypto LLC, NMLS ID 1702840, not FDIC or SIPC protected. Portfolio management offered by Robinhood Strategies, an SEC registered advisor.
Thanks for showing up, Dub Nation. Nothing beats catching your Warriors IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Warriors at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Warriors and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Warriors tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Dub Nation.
Hey, Dub Nation. If you're traveling to cheer on the Warriors this season, then the most important thing to pack is the United Airlines app. You can track your bags, change your flight or your seat, get a personalized map of the airport terminal, even talk to a live customer service agent. It's like having a travel agent in the palm of your hand for free. And yeah, that technically makes it a free agent. Download the United app and book your next trip today. United, proud to be the official airline of the Golden State Warriors.
This is Draymond Green. Now back to the voice of the Warriors, Tim Roy, live from the DoorDash broadcast booth.
Thank you, Draymond, but Tim is running towards a plane. The Warriors' 25-26 season is presented by Kaiser Permanente. Trailblazers were led by Denny Avia, 26 points for the young star. Warriors fly home and have a rare weekend off before hosting the Grizzlies on Monday. Good night from Portland. Trailblazers 139, Warriors 119.
Injured at work? Don't wait. Every day you delay can mean lost wages, delayed medical care, and more stress for your family. At Boxer & Gerson, we fight for people just like you. Construction workers, delivery drivers, factory workers, restaurant staff, hardworking folks who get hurt just trying to earn a living. We won't back down. We get results. You work hard, you deserve real help. Call Boxer & Gerson now at 510-835-8870 or visit boxerlaw.com. The consultation is free, but waiting could cost you. Boxer & Gerson, justice for workers.
NBA fans, the race for the Emirates NBA Cup is on.
When the games begin,
30 teams will start, but only 8 will advance.
Oh, he puts it in!
And only one champion will capture the cup.
Let's go!
To finish first, they'll have to put the pedal to the metal. Who will capture the cup? Well, let's see what happens on the court.
Basketball is back!
Emirates NBA Cup Group Play begins on October 31st on Prime.
Kia is the official automotive partner of the NBA. And we think about basketball a lot. The plays, the swagger, the glory, the game. And how we can elevate our own game with capability that takes us to another level. And ground clearance that propels us even higher. The 3-row 2025 Kia Telluride X-Line all-wheel drive. Kia, official vehicle partner of the Golden State Warriors. Call 800-333-4KIA for details. Always drive safely. Limited inventory available.
1 in 8 women have thyroid issues.
Am I the one? I am kind of tired. I should see a doctor. Is it genetic? Does my health plan even cover tests like that? In-network? Out-network? Why is this always a whole big thing? Wait. I have Kaiser Permanente. So my coverage includes regular preventive care. Guess it doesn't have to be a whole big thing.
Kaiser Permanente.
Healthcare that just works.
15 years ago, PG&E launched Power Pathway, an education and job training program developed to increase the number of skilled workers in the energy industry. Since then, 85% of the graduates have been hired by PG&E or the construction utility industry. Focusing on students in underserved communities, women, and military veterans, Power Pathway is helping the next generation of PG&E energy professionals build a better future for themselves and a clean energy future for California. To learn more, visit pge.com/powerpathway.
What's up, Dub Nation? Do you want to get cash back on Warriors gear? All you have to do is sign up at Rakuten.com/Warriors, where you can earn 10% cash back in store and online at Warriors Shop. Once you're a member, shop your favorite stores like Fanatics and Ticketmaster and watch the cash back add up in your account. Rakuten is the most rewarding way for you to shop and maximize your savings. Join Rakuten for free today at Rakuten.com/Warriors or download the Rakuten app. That's RAKUTEN.
Hey, Dub Nation. If you're traveling to cheer on the Warriors this season, then the most important thing to pack is the United Airlines app. You can track your bags, change your flight or your seat, get a personalized map of the airport terminal, even talk to a live customer service agent. It's like having a travel agent in the palm of your hand for free. And yeah, that technically makes it a free agent. Download the United app and book your next trip today. United, proud to be the official airline of the Golden State Warriors.
To Curry, pump fake, flyby, 3-ball, got it with the buzzer sounding!
You've been listening to Golden State Warriors basketball on the Warriors Radio Network. Presented by United Airlines. For tickets, visit Warriors.com or call 888-GSW-WHO.
You wish you were here. The Warriors, a tough loss, but kind of a schedule loss after an overtime thriller against Denver last night. Richard inside, Trace Jackson-Davis can't get it off in time, no basket. And Thiago Splitter and Steve Kerr go out and hug at midcourt. Get to move on. Warriors will get, I'm sure, a well-deserved day off tomorrow. And back at it Monday and Tuesday against Memphis and the LA Clippers. The Warriors fall to 2-1.
I mean, that is as close to a burn-the-tape game as I think we've seen in the last, couple of years. Warriors get absolutely hammered tonight in Portland for their first loss of the 2025-26 season, 139-119. Third night of a back-to-back, or third night, in four, and tail end of a back-to-back. Some might define it as a schedule loss, but we're going to break it down all here ahead on Warriors Wrap-Up. Evan Giddings with you. The number to call and text in is 888-957-9570. Of course, the Boxer and Gerson Work Injury Attorneys text line is open. Shout out to everybody watching and chiming in on YouTube, and I hope everybody's having a safe and enjoyable Friday night, and much more so than the Warriors up at the Moda Center. Portland is a team that I think we all found out, if you walk in there without effort, you can get hammered, which is what the Warriors basically took, a beating tonight in the Rose City. And this was a game that, yes, it was close at the end of the first quarter, within striking distance at half, and pretty much because Steph Curry was a one-man band, although Kuminga certainly added some contributions across his 24 minutes, and I thought was very efficient and played a nice game. No one else showed up. It was Steph, and it was Jonathan. That was it tonight for the Golden State Warriors. And they gave up a 19-5 run at the end of the second quarter, a part of a 41-point Portland second quarter going into the break. They did not score less than 34 points in a quarter the rest of the game, and Portland hung nearly 140 on the Warriors, a team that now back-to-back nights has given up some big offensive explosions. Denver, understandable. Portland, a team that basically just outran them. I think this was a game that tonight you don't necessarily have to look too much into it, and it is something to more, I think, keep in the back pocket a note, because this was the first real test of the Warriors and the questions of an older group lasting 82 games. This was the first of 15 back-to-backs, 3 and 4 nights. By the way, they do have a back-to-back coming up Monday, Tuesday, so it's not as if they can just completely put this behind them. But Curry played, Draymond played, Butler played, everyone except for Al Horford, which was a given going into the game. They even got Moses Moody back. Didn't matter. The only one that really had it tonight was Steph. I thought Draymond and Butler both kind of sleepwalked in this game. I thought Draymond was not very sharp right off the bat. He had 2 early turnovers, I think in the first minute, the first 3 possessions of the game. And, his final stat line of 12 points on 4 of 7, 3 of 4 from downtown is going to look fine. But 5 turnovers, a minus 13. I did not think he looked very good in this game. And then Jimmy Butler kind of had, and we've seen this, saw this at the end of last year, saw it a little bit in the postseason, more attributed to injury, I think, than anything else. But Jimmy Butler's kind of just sleepwalking tonight. 3 rebounds, had 4 assists. He got to the free throw line. He's going to do that at will. Although, oddly enough, he made 8 out of 8, and then he missed 2. So that little bet he has with Steph Curry at this point in terms of making more higher free throw percentages is not looking great so far to start the season. But the point is, I think the older players in this game, just were not able to muster it. And that's completely understandable. But when the effort isn't there from the lead dogs and the younger players don't step up, I would argue the only one that really did so tonight was Jonathan Kuminga. That's what's going to happen. You're going to get hammered. The Warriors' effort, and I think their focus just was not good enough tonight. Again, 3rd game in 4 nights, but this is what can happen specifically in the Western Conference when you don't have it. They turned the ball over 25 times tonight. I know I mentioned Draymond having 5 of them. Kuminga did have 4. Curry also had 4. So, your primary ball handlers in this game, because I thought that Jimmy was pretty passive, they turned the ball over 13 times. And when Butler is not effective and is not on the ball a ton, he's the guy that takes care of the rock. Kuminga, Green, Curry, while they're all solid in their own rights and do different things, they're going to be loose with the ball, especially when they don't have a ton of stamina. After an overtime game, big win against Denver the night before, got into Portland around 3 a.m., didn't get a lot of great rest, and came out against a young, athletic team that wanted to run. And I realized they didn't have their head coach. I realize there's a lot going down in Portland right now with Chauncey Billups and the like, but that basketball team is no joke. And if you walk in there lackadaisical, and we saw this over the end of last year, maybe not the Warriors specifically, but over the final 41 games of the 2024-25 season, the Portland Trailblazers were a top 3 defensive team. Juwanni Camara is an all-NBA type of defender. They, I think, added by subtracting DeAndre Ayton, who, of course, we saw how bad he was in the opener against the Lakers. Someone like Matisse Thybulle was a plus 22 tonight. He's a great, lengthy, on-ball defender. They added Drew Holiday, who they brought in because they needed to get off of Simons, but he's a guy that can really help you on the defensive end. Shaedon Sharpe is long and fast. And then Donovan Clingan, to me, is the prototypical high-effort, big that can rim run, and he's going to hurt you if you let him get out in space. And Denny Avdija was sensational, with Jeremy Grant, of course, pitching in 22 off the bench. That's a team that if you let them get out in space, if you go back and watch the highlights from this game tonight, the majority of them were in transition, it felt like, for Portland. Either they were getting quick baskets, they were setting up quick threes, or they were getting up and down on the Warriors and creating open opportunities in kind of the semi-half-court sets. They also hit a lot of threes. They just did. I think in the second quarter, they were 9 for 11. And so, sure, some of that's going to regress to the mean. On other nights, other teams are not going to shoot nearly 50% from three-point range, as the Blazers were 16 of 34. But I would argue that the Warriors didn't do a whole lot to contest a lot of those looks. A lot of them were open threes. And I think it's because the Warriors were a bit tired. They were a bit fatigued. And the Blazers are also not a half-bad team. So again, I think when the effort and the focus isn't there, which is going to happen on occasion for the Warriors, this is what could happen. And they end up getting blasted at the Motor Center. Again, final score 139-119. And I think in general, like the Western Conference just kind of creates these nights because there's so many challenging groups. I mean, a game that's still going on right now, the Clippers, who lost an opening night, handedly, by the way, to the Utah Jazz, are absolutely throttling the Phoenix Suns by nearly 30 points. You look around what's going around the West. Really, the only competitive game in the Western Conference was between San Antonio and New Orleans. Los Angeles bounces back. They hammer Minnesota, get nearly 50 points from Luka Doncic. The Sacramento Kings and Utah Jazz also came down to the wire, too. But those are two teams that are not expected to really compete. San Antonio, who was flying high off of one of the greatest, I think, opening night performances I've seen from Victor Wembanyama, who I'll talk about in a little bit, had one of the weirdest stat lines that I've seen this season. Barely got a win in New Orleans in overtime. Memphis, meanwhile, got absolutely hammered by Miami. Like, these kinds of blowouts are not uncommon in 2025 because of how many threes are taken, because of how fast the game moves. But you can also see the way that the Warriors, though they were within striking distance at halftime, the game was not going in their direction. And I thought Steve Kerr, he was throwing stuff at a wall a little bit in the first and third quarters. I think we're still seeing some experimentation, especially without Horford, who is probably going to close in some games and most certainly is going to come off the bench to be around the 20 to 25-minute mark. But without him, they really have to figure out what they're going to do with the five. That doesn't include Draymond playing that position for long periods of time. I think that was something that they focused on this offseason that they did not want to do. And as a result, the combinations and rotations we saw tonight were to try and prevent that. Quentin Post was inserted into the starting lineup. Didn't have a ton of success. Trace Jackson-Davis saw a burn. A lot of it down the stretch, but they really played, a couple of centers that with Horford in, you're just not going to see a whole lot. Quentin Post got his first shot of the season tonight, made his first three, and I think that's because Al Horford is someone they're going to rely on heavily when he's available. And on back-to-backs, that's just not the case. So, Steph was really good tonight, especially in the first half. First quarter, he pours in 16 points, 11 straight points in a minute and 20 seconds, mind you. So his night just basically wasn't enough. I think he's been unreal to start the season. Had another 7 threes tonight. Hit a couple circus shots. Was probably the only reason the Warriors weren't blown out at the end of this half. And then you got to talk about what Jonathan Kuminga did, because I think what he's shown through the first 3 games is the summer, the distractions that I admittedly believed were naturally going to follow such a saga that lasted far longer than anybody wanted to. He seems to have put that behind him, and you got to give him a lot of credit, because I thought that tonight in the first 3 games he has played ultimate team basketball, especially in comparison to the way he has played in the past. 3 games in a row, he's rebounding, he's ripping, he's running, he's defending. Yes, the turnovers are going to come. I thought he actually played maybe a little too passively in a game like this, because Jimmy Butler didn't seem interested in scoring. Draymond Green's not going to give you that. And the bench unit, there was no scoring to be found. I actually wrote this down in the second quarter. After a couple of nice takes to the rack, it felt like Kuminga was only shooting when he was given the opportunity to do so. But he was out there with GP2, Will Richard, and Quentin Post. And I'm just thinking, this is the kind of game where you would like to see Kuminga take over a little more. But when Steph's on the floor, and I think because he's trying to, again, get more players involved, like that first pass of the game, he gets into the lane, quickly kicks to the corner for a Draymond 3. Like, that's clearly a decision that he had made. When he got the ball, he knew exactly where to go with it. He was not looking for a shot. I think as the game ensued, and maybe in future contests we'll see this too, when the Warriors aren't getting a lot of firepower from anyone not named 30, that's where Kuminga can certainly fill a void, because on a night like tonight, they probably needed him to score more than 16 points. And it felt like he was looking to make the right play. I love to see that. And he got to the free throw line, made all 7 of his free throws too. So I thought a really nice game from obviously Curry, but also Kuminga, just continuing to move in that consistent fashion where the Warriors really need him to. And again, I think on the heels of this summer, you got to give him a lot of credit. All right, 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors Wrap Up. The Warriors go down to Portland. First loss of the season in, let's just say it, blowout fashion. A burn the tape game, if you will. 139-119 at the Moda Center. And let's get out to the phone lines and talk to our guy. Let's talk to Shardal in Fremont. Shardal, I have missed you. What's going on? Please tell me, what did you make of this game tonight?
Hi, Evan. I'm a big fan of 95.7 The Game. I tune to your show every night. You make some great content and videos on the platform, get some great guests on here. They're really passionate about this team. I mean, the Warriors got thrashed today by the Trailblazers, 139-119. Man, it was not. I mean, it was not a good game. I mean, I was at the Warriors game yesterday at the Chase Center. Absolutely electric atmosphere, man. I mean, like, that was the most electric atmosphere I've been to at a game. I went with my dad. He hooked me with some tickets, man. We went to the game together. The Warriors won. Curry just went absolutely ballistic, man. He took over the whole game, scored 16 points in the remaining rest of the game. But this was a hard game. This was a hard loss, man. I mean, this was a hard loss for this team. I mean, like, this was not. I was expecting that this team would come out much stronger today and repeat that same performance they did last night when they played the Nuggets in the home opener. This was just a hard loss, man. I mean, like, Curry had 35 points yesterday. He had 42. I mean, he was good today. But what were your thoughts on the performance by the Warriors today, man? It definitely sucked the life out of me. I mean, after the third quarter, I knew this game was over, man. I wasn't going to watch any of the game. I was probably going to turn the TV off after the third quarter.
I got you, Chardell. Well, let me try to help you out a little bit. It's game 3. It's game 3 of an 82-game season. Tonight was not a good look for Golden State. And what I made of it was they put forth a lackluster effort. It was their third game in 4 nights. This is an older basketball team, and I think these games are going to happen. The question I have is how they can prevent them from happening frequently. So if every time they play 3 of 4, are they going to have a stinker? Sometimes they're going to be playing 4 out of 6. Sometimes these games are going to get condensed, and they're going to need their young players to step up, and they're going to need their old players to remain fresh. I don't know how they're going to do that over an 82-game season, and that has and will be the biggest question of this season. I think a lot of people make it out to be, well, if they're healthy, right? Well, if they're not injured, if they're in the dance, they got a chance. And I think that's largely correct. You saw what happened last night against Denver. They look like a completely different team when they were fresh. But that's part of it, too. It's not just injuries, to me. I think something we have to keep an eye on is the fatigue factor of the older players on this Warriors team. And I don't think you have to look any further than what we saw last year in the first round against the Houston Rockets. That was a series where the Warriors were in complete control. They were up 3-1. They even got one of those games, I believe, with Curry and Butler. I'm not sure. I got to go back and check, but I'm not sure if Draymond played in all of those games in that series. The point being, the Warriors were in control of that series and then basically sacrificed Game 5 in Houston because they were going to have no chance of summoning an extra effort against that type of young team. And Game 6 was the one they geared up for, and they lost at even strength. And that pushed them to 7, where Curry had to play 44 minutes, and that eventually led to, and Celebrini admitted this to Nick Friedel of The Athletic. Actually, it's part of it was Sam Amick of The Athletic that reported this, that Kerr said that Celebrini told him that it was a direct correlation to Curry's injury, the hamstring that he sustained in Game 1 against Minnesota. So it's not just, well, all right, this guy's out with an ankle, or this guy's out with a calf, or this guy's going to be missing a game. It's the fatigue factor that builds over the long run. And I think that's what we saw immediately in the first 3 games. Like, that to me would be the most concerning thing from tonight's game. It's not that the Warriors gave up 16 threes. I think the turnovers are related to the fatigue and a little bit of the focus, but it's that you saw in the first week of the season that this is going to probably be a thing. And that means that they're going to need more contributions from their younger players. And that has to mean that it can't just be someone like Kuminga, who, again, I thought was fine tonight. It means that Moses Moody coming back is going to be important. In his 21 minutes, he didn't look very great, let's be honest. But, again, he's coming back from a calf injury. It means someone like Brandon Podziemski cannot stink up the joint the way he did tonight. He was a team worst minus 17. And that's a column that usually goes in his favor. That plus minus is a stat that, in many ways, is the reason why Brandon Podziemski is as valuable to the Warriors as he is, because he doesn't score a ton of points. He doesn't always grab a bunch of rebounds, the assist totals. He does a little bit of everything. But he was probably the worst player in this game tonight. He started 0 of 6, and not to rag on the guy, but there is a stretch in the second quarter where he blew a transition bunny, he airballed a floater, and then amidst a foul, ended up falling and almost rolled his ankle. This was all in like a 90-second span. And I just was like, wow, this is not a good game from Pods. He hit a 3 in the second half, and I think he played a decent stretch at the beginning of the fourth quarter. But the game was already over. I mean, you said it, Chardall, and I agree with you. The game was over at the end of 3. You can make a case it was over before that. I think Kerr just waved the white flag really when he brought Guy Santos in because he had no one else that was giving him any sort of energy. And he probably should have gone to Santos earlier. Based on a Portland team that is going to try and get up and down the floor, that might be the matchup for someone like Guy Santos because that's what he does. But Kerr pulled the starters with 8 minutes left. You know, we're watching the Spencers and, the TJDs and the Santoses for the end of that game. It was just pretty ugly. You know, one thing that Steve Kerr did do that I thought was kind of interesting, and it didn't work, but was at the end of the first and third quarters, we saw him, and this is how I kind of felt like Jimmy Butler, he was just sleepwalking in this game. Jimmy Butler last year in the non-Steph minutes, and so far this year, it's kind of been similar for Steph. He goes 8 on, 8 on, 8 on, 8 off, 8 on, 8 off. And Kerr has tried to have Jimmy Butler out there for the majority of the non-Steph minutes, like he did last year. And whether they were even, a plus, anytime you're getting by with Steph Curry off the floor, that's a win for the Warriors. But Jimmy Butler was out there, I just want to get this correct. He was out there for 3+ minute stints at the end of the first and the third. And the first unit was, let me see here, Pat Spencer, Moses Moody, Will Richard, and Brandon Pajemski. So they tried to go small and run a little bit with Butler. And that unit did not work whatsoever. And it didn't work, I think, because Butler wasn't aggressive. He wasn't having a great shooting night. And no one was able to put the ball in the hole. They were a -7 in those 3.5 minutes. And then at the end of the third quarter, he goes back to a Jimmy-led bench unit. I think the only difference is that Spencer was out and GP2 was in at that point. But again, there's no one that could put the ball in the hole because Jimmy Butler didn't have it tonight. Also, you got to give credit to Portland. Like, they got some good, lengthy defenders like we talked about. And Butler, at this stage in his career, if he doesn't have a full head of steam and maybe doesn't have a full night of rest, he's not going around Toumani Camara. He's not going around maybe even a Chris Murray. He's not going around Matisse Thybulle at this stage in his career. So Portland is I think, well equipped to kind of combat some of the things that Kerr was throwing out there that didn't work and we may or may not see again. But I just think that because they didn't have Horford in this game, we saw the Warriors experiment a little bit more than maybe you would have liked, and it quite frankly it just didn't work. 888-957-9570 is the number. So overall, I just think that this is kind of a burn the tape sort of game for the Warriors. The Western Conference is going to naturally create nights like these, as it did for a bunch of other teams, mind you. And when the Warriors' effort and focus isn't there like it was last night, where it was absolutely present against Denver, and Steph Curry was sensational after the team put him in a position to drive them home and close that game. This is what is just going to happen. Again, Butler, Draymond, I thought were kind of sleepwalking at points in this game. And it also highlights, something that we'll continue to talk about, and I definitely want to get into tomorrow for our first Warriors this week with Dan Devone and myself from 9 to noon. Tap in for that, is what the Warriors do about their bench. I think that this is a unit that is largely reliant on streaky players. None more than Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield Buddy Hield was a +5 tonight. I really don't know how that happened. But Buddy Hield in 12 minutes, he didn't shoot the ball. And the 1-3 that he did shoot, oddly enough, was another air ball. I think Buddy Hield has airballed a shot in all 3 games so far this season, which is kind of weird because either it's been nothing but nylon or nothing. But Buddy Hield is their microwave scorer off the bench. If he's not hitting, I'm not expecting Pods to step off the bench and score 15 points. As much as I think that Will Richard has been a nice addition and should challenge, for minutes. He played 25 tonight because, he kind of got the 8 down the stretch of the game. It probably would have been about 16, 17, which is where he was against the Lakers, and had to play more against Denver because because the game went longer. But to me, like, Will Richard is not a guy that you're looking for, again, 15 points. Going up and down that bench. Moses Moody is not a microwave scorer either. You know, I do wonder if looking ahead, especially when Moody is healthy, that one of the reasons they might look to, and it's going to be tough too because he's playing really well right now and has helped them in the first 3 games. I do wonder if bringing someone like Kuminga off the bench is the best option for the Warriors, especially if Kuminga can still play a lot. Like, I think that with that second unit, again, tonight, I felt a bunch of times, really more so in the first half, and in the second half, things got away from him. But when he was out there with the GP2s, the Moody's, the Podses, I'm looking at Kuminga like I think he's got to try and score. And there was a couple times he got caught in the air, threw a ball away. I think that he had a couple of tough plays, but he was good. He was their second best player tonight. He also had 3 offensive rebounds, and so far in his first 3 games, he's been grabbing boards. He also had the play of the night, if we're being quite honest. Jonathan Kuminga just cleared the glass, took it coast to coast, and slammed it on Donovan Clingan in the second quarter with about 4 minutes left. That was a highlight reel play that he created for himself. He got the rebound. And Clingan is a legit 7'3". That guy is maybe not a perennial shot blocker, but he's no slouch. And Clingan is someone that can get up as well. So for Kuminga to do that, that was probably the highlight outside of Curry doing his thing with his 7 threes. That was the most, I think, electric play of the game for Golden State, because after halftime, there just kind of wasn't anything, in my personal opinion. I mean, I think, you have to think about what this team needs. And right now, there's 0 scoring coming off their bench. There is no one that can get a bucket right there. And so for me, if your goal is to keep, and again, this all includes Horford coming back as well. And I think what we're talking about largely is these sort of situations where, all right, like, am I going to go to Quentin Post? Quentin Post, if he's not hitting shots, is not going to help you a ton. And it could be, them sort of surveying the land right now and saying, all right, in a couple of months, what are we going to try and acquire? Is it a microwave score? What are we going to do? But when Curry is leading this unit, I think that Jimmy Butler is someone that can and should lead a second unit. But is he going to carry you offensively? I don't think he can do it every night. And Kuminga absolutely can score. So I think that's something that they can try and figure out as well. By the way, just because you come off the bench doesn't mean you don't close. It doesn't mean that you don't get 30-plus minutes. It just means you're trying to stagger things to make sure that the team doesn't have a dramatic offensive fall-off when you go to the second unit like they did tonight. The Warriors got outscored in the second unit 53-31. They were in their bench was in single digits through the third quarter. Like that's how bad they were offensively tonight the moment they went away from anything Curry, Butler, or Kuminga related. So I'm just trying to figure out if that's something they might experiment with, especially with Moses Moody beginning to get healthy. The other thing, too, is Pods is someone we're going to have to talk about, because I think for the first time in his career, he has to earn minutes. Like, in the past, I've understood why he's someone that plays as much as he does. But, and I think largely it was just position related. Like, they just didn't have many guards. You think about last year, and Pat Spencer was the backup point guard. I love Pat. He ain't better than Pods. And this season, however, you don't just have Podziemski. You have DeAnthony Melton, who's going to be coming back. You have Will Richard, who looks to be a pretty decent player. You have Kerr willing to experiment with larger lineups, like the one that he closed against Denver with which basically Kuminga was the de facto 2. And now you have Moses Moody, who's also healthy, who you could potentially play larger with at the 2 or the 3. So because Pods has struggled, and if he struggles the way he did at the beginning of last season, remember, that's why they went out and acquired Dennis Schroeder, who, by the way, I was not a fan of at the time. I did not think that trade was going to work, but I understood why they did it. And the reason was Podziemski was borderline unplayable. Now, after his injury, he came back. He shot 41.4% from three-point range the remainder of the season. But if he's not hitting shots and is not able to make open looks like he was tonight and hasn't really through the first 3 games, That's someone you got to think about. All right, is he going to play? Does he deserve to play 20 to 25 minutes a night when you got all these other options? That I'm not so sure of. So I think, again, with the Warriors, the contributions they're going to get from their young players, like that's the key to games tonight, or games like tonight, is having the young guys step up. And I think that's largely why the Warriors got absolutely drilled, is because there was only one young player who showed up to the Moda Center. His name was Jonathan Kuminga. Podziemski did not play very well in this game. I thought that Moses Moody, coming off injury, did not look very good. Quentin Post was pretty much ineffective. Will Richard, by the way, who I think has been a nice story in addition for the Warriors, he had some moments where he did look like a rookie tonight. There was a couple of travels, one of which in the corner. There was a play, I think it was at the end of the third quarter when Jimmy was out there with the second unit, where Butler kind of got a clear out and he was trying to go around his man. And I'm not sure if he would have got a foul or not, but Richard sort of awkwardly cut into the lane right where Jimmy was. And it was, I had one of my buddies text me, he was like, I think he'd fouled Jimmy Butler. It just was really clunky, and I don't know if it was miscommunication, but Richard has shown himself to be a pretty heady player, and that was one of the few times where the spacing was just completely incorrect. So that's something that he's gonna solve. And I think overall, there are a lot of things from this game that the Warriors will take that they can correct easily. Like, I don't think they're gonna look this bad the majority of games, but you have nights where you don't show up in terms of effort. There's a lack of focus based on what happened last night and the trip up to Portland this evening that they got into town at 3 a.m. And you're going to have a game like tonight, again, where Portland is revved up, and not just by the head coach issue, although Tiago Splitter had him playing pretty inspired, I got to say. But that was a game where, like, I'm not really sure the Trailblazers had a great game plan other than we're going to speed the Warriors up, we're going to get in their grill, and we're going to make them look old. They did. I thought for the majority of the game, maybe not Steph as much, who just continues to defy time. Although he did have 4 turnovers in this basketball game, and there was a couple that were just, very Curry-esque, to be honest. But they just got into the grill of Golden State and said, we're faster, we're bigger, we're stronger, and this is going to be a game where you're not going to have any control of the pace. The tempo tonight went in favor of Portland, and where I thought that last night, even into overtime against Denver, maybe some of it was at home. They kind of fed off the crown of the energy, and they just looked a lot slower. Like, Portland is a team that I think people, I don't know if I would say are sleeping on. I don't think that they're going to be a playoff team this year. They could be a play-in team. I mean, I think they went 23-18 down the stretch of last year, and there were a couple of games away from making the 9-10 play-in game. So they got some pieces, and I actually think that they've played a lot better without Scoot Henderson, who was their prize draft pick from a couple of years ago. He's out with a torn hamstring that he sustained in September of preseason. But with Drew Holiday, like, he's a calming veteran presence. He had a couple bad turnovers tonight, but 11 assists, 12 points. Really, the only player from their starting unit that played poorly, or I should say shot at poorly, was Shaedon Sharpe, and everyone else chipped in. There was a play in the second half where, the Warriors, they got caught napping so many times on defense tonight. It was a little frustrating to watch. In the first quarter, both Jimmy and Curry individually each got caught napping on a back cut. Like, there were probably 4 or 5 back cuts by the Blazers tonight where they got, I would say, anywhere from 10 to 12 free points because the Warriors just weren't paying attention. There was a play in the second half where Blake Wesley shoots the ball. Wesley's a fine player. I actually liked him in the preseason. That's another thing, too, we can get to, the familiarity with these teams. But Blake Wesley shot the ball, and Moses Moody was just kind of lazy getting to it. Wesley scoops it up and puts it in. Like, he recovered his own rebound and scored off his own miss. That's not something I think you see from Golden State if they're locked in. Especially not like last night. Last night they were hitting bodies. They were rebounding with Denver. And I know tonight they didn't get necessarily out-rebounded, and a lot of that is the final 8 minutes. But there was, just off the rip, you could see the difference in intent from Portland. There was a single possession. I don't think the Blazers scored, but they had 3 offensive rebounds in a possession like 6 minutes into the game. Again, combined with Curry and Butler losing their man for easy layups, like there just wasn't a lot of, I think, intent tonight from Golden State. And to me, that's fatigue. And so it's completely understandable why they got blown out tonight. And we're going to hear from Steve Kerr in just a little bit, but I think you'll hear something similar of they just didn't have it tonight. Combined with the big emotional win they got last night. And I talked about this in Warriors Live. I felt like this was a game the Warriors could win, but this was not a gimme game whatsoever. I mean, this was a game that I felt like Portland had a very good chance to take down the Warriors because matchup-wise, if Golden State is not on its P's and Q's, they just have guys that can take advantage of you. Like, it was preseason, but I remember at Chase Center, it was the first of their 2 meetings. The starters for Portland in that preseason game in the first quarter ran the Warriors starters out of the gym. They were down 19 at one point in the second in that preseason game. The only reason they won is because the bench unit in the C-Dubs, essentially, led by L.J. Cryer, scored 51 points in the fourth quarter of that preseason game to drag them back from a defeat into a win. I think Quentin Post was also involved in that well. But my point is, like, the starters for the Warriors in that game, and I know it's preseason, but they got ran out of the gym by Portland, which is exactly what happened tonight just a couple of weeks later. So I think the familiarity played a little bit of a role. The fact that they'd played each other twice in the preseason, the fact that Portland had some success with their starting unit against the Warriors, although I think Horford did play in that preseason game I was referring to, that might have played a role as well. And then I think that just the fact that the Warriors played their third game in 4 nights and just did not quite have it this evening. So, if anybody has any thoughts, happy to take calls, text, 888-957-9570 is the number. Evan Giddings with you on Warriors wrap-up here. This is from the 510 on the Boxer and Gerson work injury attorneys text line. The starters were gassed. It showed on defense. Bench was terrible. Moody was rusty. Pod shot poorly again. Will Richard came down to earth. Hill didn't hit shots. Post was a non-factor. Butler looked off. I think that just about sums it up, 510. That was a pretty good summation. And I see a lot of good stuff also coming in on our YouTube chat as well. Again, we're going to talk about all this tomorrow at nauseum with Dan Devone on Warriors this week. But on the other side of this commercial break, we are going to take a listen to Steve Kerr. And if we have any more cuts coming in too, Cam, just throw them on the board and I'd be happy to get to them. But about 3.5 minutes with Steve Kerr on the other side as we take a break here on Warriors Wrap-Up. And again, taking your calls at 888-957-9570. We'll be back after this, after the Warriors fall 139-119 to the Portland Trailblazers here on 95.7 The Game.
What's your financial future look like? At Pettinelli Financial Partners, we help you shape it. Whether you're planning for retirement, buying a home, or saving for something special, our professionals are here to provide clear guidance and smart strategies. Visit PettinelliFP.com today and take the first step toward a more secure financial future. The financial consultants at Pettinelli Financial Partners are registered representatives with and securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Stratos Wealth Partners, a registered investment advisor. Stratos and Pettinelli are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Dubs fans, it's time to score big at Cordelia RV Center. Every new 2025 RV must go before year's end with deals you won't see again. Don't wait. Hit the road in style and save thousands. Located at 680 and I-80 in Fairfield or online at CordeliaRV.com.
Nobody had to tell your grandparents not to drive while using their typewriters. Why should it be any different for us kids and our cell phones? Distracted driving was the cause of more than 3,000 deaths in 2022. Come on, we're smarter than this. Let's put down the phones and focus on the roads. Drive safe, everybody.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Are you ready to finally make that dream a reality? Maybe it's updating your kitchen, paying down high-interest credit cards, or covering tuition. Your home is more than where you live. It's also your most powerful asset. At Unlock, we make it simple to turn equity into options. With a home equity agreement, you can access cash today without taking on monthly payments. Imagine the freedom to invest in your home, reduce financial stress, or finally start that big project you've been putting off. It's your home. It's your future. Unlock it today. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.
Hi, I'm Dustin, your friend and jeweler at Shane Company. I know finding a dream engagement ring can be overwhelming, but don't worry, we got you. As director of diamond sourcing, it's my job to make sure every single diamond at Shane Company is truly the best of the best. Our team travels the world to see diamonds up close, in person. We handpick each one for its unique fire, brilliance, and scintillation. Diamond buying is an art. Of course, we look at cut, color, clarity, and carat, known as the 4 C's, but that's not all. We also look at how each diamond looks on a hand, where it will be worn, how it makes you feel, and if it's worthy of a Shane Company customer. That type of expertise only comes from working for a company that's been a family business since 1929. We also think about your budget. We only pick the best in each grade in all shapes and sizes. Your diamond is guaranteed to be the most beautiful because a friend wants you to pick from only the best. Drop by your store or shaneco.com and see for yourself. Shane Company, your friend and jeweler.
Now it's time for the closer of the week. Presented by LiftMaster and R&S Doors. Turn your garage into the envy of the neighborhood. Visit rsdoors.com.
This week's closer comes from Bruce from Concord. Tony Lazzarini installed our new garage door system. He was professional, knowledgeable, and answered all my questions. The doors run perfectly and are nice and quiet. I definitely recommend Tony and R&S of Concord.
Recently, my garage door opener was not working. I was in need of a closer. I was put in touch with R&S Doors, and they hooked me up with a brand new garage door opener from LiftMaster. With LiftMaster's MyQ connectivity, my garage door opener can be controlled right from my smartphone. You'll know when a door or gate has been left open and can close it with a tap, no matter where I am. Be one of the first 10 callers and receive 20% off a LiftMaster garage door opener.
Call 1-800-FIX-A-DOOR. That's 800-FIX-A-DOOR. Or visit rsdoors.com. R&S Doors. Look for the red truck.
Hi, this is Brian Bakhtiar, Executive Manager of Stevens Creek Subaru. The fall season is upon us. That means football, baseball playoffs, and kids back in school. At Stevens Creek Subaru, this is one of our favorite times of the year. Fall is also when we get our first rains of the year. That means dangerous road conditions. That is, unless you drive a Subaru with symmetrical all-wheel drive. Subarus are built for any road condition or terrain, whether it's a drive to the coast or up to the snow. The safest pick is a Subaru.
This month, lease a new 2025 Crosstrek 2.5i Premium for just $238 per month. Just $238 a month for a new Crosstrek from Stevens Creek Subaru in San Jose. 36-month lease. No security deposit needed. $29.95 due at signing, plus tax, license, and registration fees. Includes $85 dealer documentation fee and first month payment. Acquisition fee $650. MSRP $30,177. 15 cents per mile over 10,000 miles a year with Tier 1 approved credit. $300 disposition fee. One at this payment. VIN number S8268128. Offer expires end of month. See Stevens Creek Subaru for details.
On Stevens Creek Boulevard or online at StevensCreekSubaru.com. Buckle up and drive safely.
This is it, your last call clearance event at Lazy Boy. Save up to 50% off store-wide on sofas, sectionals, recliners, and more. Don't miss unbeatable savings on an American icon. The last call clearance event happening now at your local Bay Area Lazy Boy.
Kuminga in traffic, in trouble, out to Payton. Takes the three, it's up and wide left. Kuminga hustles to the rebound. Over to Curry. Curry, quick release. It's good! And he got fouled right in front of the Warrior bench. Points two fingers at head coach Steve Kerr. He points back and then helps him up. How did he make that? He wasn't squared to the hoop. Kuminga flipped it to him. And he just got enough. And Jeremy Grant got him flying by. And a chance for a 4-point play.
Now back to Warriors Wrap Up on 95.7 The Game.
Well, because Tim Roy, he's the chef. That's why. I mean, the guy is hitting ridiculous shots still at age 37. He did it last night against Denver, pulling victory from the jaws of defeat. And, well, he couldn't quite do that tonight in Portland, but he still had a couple of highlights nonetheless. This is Warriors Wrap Up with Evan Giddings. 888-957-9570 is the number. Warriors 2-1. They take their first loss of the year to the Portland Trailblazers at the Moda Center, 139-119. they get waxed, and it wasn't that poetic. I mean, this is a burn the tape game tonight for Golden State, but I think overall the Warriors are still, look, it is still very early in this season. I think they're still, because of a game like tonight where they know they're not going to have Horford, who's a big part of both their bench as well as their closing lineup like we saw last night, they're going to be in experimentation mode in these sort of situations for some time. And if, God forbid, which will happen, Curry, Butler, Green go down at any point this season, or they just have to miss games and they're load managing, these are the kinds of games that hopefully they're going to be able to draw from and learn from. Because, I'll say it again, I just feel like these are the kinds of games that are going to happen in an absolutely loaded Western Conference. You're going to meet teams that are young, that are hungry, that are athletic, that can defend. And then the Warriors, who are a team that has the ability to do all those things at different times, when they are fatigued, when they're playing a third game in 4 nights, or some nights where they just don't have it, they're going to get blown out. There were multiple 30-point blowouts across the association tonight involving Western Conference teams. It doesn't feel good to get absolutely lambasted, especially this early in the year. Some people were saying, well, it's only game 3. What's going on? Yeah, you're still on track for 54 wins. Like, the goal is to survive the 82-game season. Wins like last night, yes, you're on a high. And then the night after, when you get into Portland at 3 a.m. and you take an L to Portland, it's going to feel like a low. And then you got a back-to-back on Monday and Tuesday when you head back home. Like, that's the way the season is going to go. And so I think inconsistency and effort inconsistently is naturally going to happen when you got a bunch of 35 and up players. Steph Curry through 3 games appears to be the only player that doesn't affect. But I saw a slower Jimmy Butler tonight. I saw a slower Draymond Green tonight. We didn't even see Al Horford. So that's what's going to happen to the Warriors over the course of this season. And it's going to be about stacking enough victories to get into the playoffs and avoid the play-in. Ideally, hopefully, get a top 4 seed, which I do believe is within reach if they get some injury health, some health luck going their way. So, again, I think a game like tonight, you were hoping to see more from the young players. I think Kuminga showed that. You didn't see much from Podziemski. You didn't see much from Moody. You didn't see much from Post, Trace Jackson-Davis. And that's eventually what's going to happen. It also appears that Al Horford, he's pretty important for a reason. Post is not helpful when he's not making shots. Trace Jackson-Davis is kind of a guy at this point. It almost feels like without Horford, they're just back to being a centerless team that's better off playing Draymond at the 5, which is something that they're trying to avoid in order to preserve him, again, over the course of the 6 months. All right, before we get out of here, let's get to Steve Kerr, who spoke after the loss, 139-119 to the Trailblazers. And I got a cam. Here we go. Here's Steve Kerr, the head coach of the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah, I mean, it'll always be a big deal, whether we take care of the ball well enough. Last night, 9 in an overtime game. But this is a completely different team that we're playing tonight. We saw them twice in the preseason, and they've done a great job, building their roster, building a style and identity, and they just dominated us tonight, took us out of everything, and they were on fire. 11 threes in the first half, so they were fantastic, and they deserved it, obviously.
Moses Moody played 21 minutes, played the last 8 minutes of the fourth quarter, tried to dunk a couple times. Wondering what you thought about Moses, how he looked on that.
This was a game for Moses to get his feet wet again, get back in the rhythm after missing the last couple of weeks. So, these are the type of games where, you're getting blown out. There's still things that you can accomplish. And one of those things tonight was getting Moses back out there and limiting everybody's minutes and looking at some different combinations. So it was a tough night, but really good week, to go 2-1 with a 3 games in 4 nights in 3 different cities. I'll take it, but we've got to learn from this and do a much better job handling that kind of pressure.
Were there any combinations that you liked just from the different lineups you got right now? No,
not tonight.
Not tonight.
Speaking of good weeks, Jonathan had another performance where he kind of filled in a lot of gaps. We've talked a lot about him the last couple weeks. Specifically, the other night, you said you feel like he's maturing. What ways do you feel like you see it the most on the floor night to night right now?
Well, his passing has improved dramatically. He's made so many good passes, not only in games but in practices. I think he's seeing the floor better. But I just like the approach. I like the vibe that he's bringing. He's confident. He definitely feels like part of the team and what we're trying to do after all the contract stuff. I just think his teammates have been so good, Jimmy and Steph, Dre, all, welcoming him back with open arms and reminding him that contract stuff is contract stuff. So JK's had a really good start to the season. I'm proud of him, the way he's playing, and I'm excited for what's ahead for him and for us.
How much do you think fatigue was a factor?
I'm sorry?
Fatigue tonight. How much do you think that was a factor?
Well, I think the NBA schedule is, everybody deals with whatever comes your way, and there's a lot of difficult, moments in the schedule, whatever. But tonight was not about that. It was about Portland and what they've built and the length and athleticism and the style of play, and they were brilliant, man. So, I would be embarrassed to sit here and blame fatigue when a team just came out and just took it to us. So it was about them and their great play, and this city's going to really enjoy watching the Blazers because they play hard and they've got a real identity, and they're doing a really good job of kind of rebuilding. The franchise after the long run with Terry and Dame and CJ. I mean, it's been a rough couple of years, but they've used that time wisely and built a really good roster.
Yeah, GG's basically is what Steve Kerr is telling Portland, and he's right. Look, Toumani Camara is a quality wing. Shadon Sharp, though he didn't have a good game tonight, that dude can get up the floor. Matisse Thybulle is an excellent on-ball defender and was actually knocking down threes tonight. Drew Holiday, 17th year in the league, but he's still got a lot left in the tank. Even someone like Blake Wesley, can get out there in the run. I thought they got better this offseason by getting rid of DeAndre Ayton, allowing more of a runway for Donovan Clingan. Like they're a team that is ascending, and Portland is a team that caught the Warriors tonight in Game 3 because I think the Warriors they just did not have it. And there are going to be games like this throughout the season. I think that we look at the Warriors and we wonder, who are these guys? Like, seriously, are they the Hall of Famers that we were promised and that we see most nights? Or are they the Golden State Warriors who are shells of themselves and just get absolutely pulverized by a team that is fresh, that is young, that can run, and that, again, basically just ran the Warriors out of the gym tonight because their young players are better than the Warriors' young players for the most part, outside of Jonathan Kuminga, I think, who again, Kerr was very complimentary of. And I do want to dig into this more tomorrow on Warriors This Week as we kind of wind down here. But you're beginning to see, I think, the maturation that a lot of people have been wanting. And it's happening both ways. I think you're beginning to see Kerr trust Kuminga, and I think you're beginning to see Kuminga trust Kerr. So on the heels of a long summer and saga of a contract negotiation, it all seems pretty well, at least through 3 games, and that's a plus because he's helped the Warriors win 2 of them. And again, 3 and 4 nights, you get 2 of those games, one of which against a contender in the West. I don't want this game to completely erase what they did in overtime against Denver. That was a close game that could have gone either way, but they made the winning plays and Denver did not. And tonight, it didn't matter how many winning plays the Warriors made because Portland just absolutely pulverized them. and they get that 20-point win. So the Warriors will have a weekend off. They come back for a home back-to-back, and so they're going to be taking on, let's see here. They get the Clippers as well as, I believe, the Grizzlies. Pardon me, the Grizzlies, then the Clippers on Monday and Tuesday. So looking forward to that. But in the meantime, we got Warriors this week coming at you tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock to 12. Myself, along with Dan Devone, will be back at it every single Saturday during the Warriors season. So looking forward to looking at this first 3-game stretch, the first week from a bird's eye view, and get my guy Dan's take on the whole thing. So big thank you tonight to Steven Risotto here cutting things up for us in studio. As always, Cameron Williams, our network coordinator, holding it down for us. My name is Evan Giddings, saying so long on this edition of Warriors Wrap Up. A thank you to everyone in the YouTube chat, Boxer and Gerson, work injury attorneys text line, everyone who called in tonight. And, of course, we'll talk to you tomorrow morning and throughout this season, all right here on your home for Golden State Warriors basketball, 95.7 The Game. Take it easy, everyone.
In 1848, James Marshall discovered gold at Sutter's Mill. And in 3 years, a multicultural migration grew a sleepy trading post of 800.